Hello, welcome back to Golden Fluid Art. This video we're going to edit artwork using a free software called GIMP. So if you don't have GIMP on your computer, all you need to do is go to Google and you just type in GIMP download, and here it is first up. So if you just click on that, and then you have the option depending on which type of computer you have, and then you just click download and install as per normal. Now we have GIMP downloaded and installed. So I'm just going to open a file that I'm ready to edit. This is a raw scan file that I got. If you haven't seen my previous video, I highly recommend it on how to get high quality images of your art, particularly if it's a gloss surface. Here it's asking me if I want to stick or switch to stick with the color scheme from the scanner or switch to GIMP's own version of it. I'm going to keep, and I'm going to select this box here, which is a rotating tool. If you right click on that, you can see that there's various other options. If, for example, you took a photo with your own camera and your image is not square, you can use handle transform to square up your photo again to be the right shape and perspective. But for now, because I've used a scanner, I know that it is square already. So I'm going to click on rotate. And to do a rotate, you just click on the item. Let's zoom in a little. I think that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to click rotate. And now I am going to crop. So this is the crop select. And I'm going to select an area around the tile I want to edit. I'm going to make that a little bigger. And then just press enter. And there we go. We have just one tile. The next step I like to do is I go into colors, and I used to use levels, which is what I was taught. But typically I find that when I'm editing artwork, this isn't so great because I don't always have a black point and a white point that are accurate. So what I prefer to do now is I go to curves, and I'll create a new point here, and I'll just drag that down to the black line, and I'll grab a point up here and I'll drag that up to the white line. And ultimately what I just did is I've made my darks darker and my lights lighter, which I find does a really good job of correcting scanned images. Okay, so now I typically like to use filters. This is where you could enhance, so by using enhance sharpen. This gives you crisp lines, which is good for your detail. But if your image, like this one, has glitter in it, it just makes the glitter more grainy, which is not my favorite. So I tend to turn it down pretty low, so that way it's just crispening. It's just making those lines a little bit more crisp, but without making it too grainy. There is something else that you can use, which I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video, but you can also go to filters, and there's a plugin that you can install called Gimmick, and in it it has some pretty cool functionality. For smoothing, I've been recommended against using the one on GIMP, so I prefer this one. So if you just type smooth, if you do Dream Smooth, that's for more extreme cases where you've got like glitter, like what I have, or something else, and it can be pretty fun. I'll go to a good section where you can see its effects really well. It might take a minute just to activate so you can see the preview. There we go. So as you can see, it really transforms the image. You can adjust, so opacity is like transparency, so you'll see this image won't be quite as intense. So yeah, you can adjust the smoothness and play with the controls on this one if you really want to get rid of the glitter. I personally think that this makes it look more like an AI image, and I try to keep my art looking as much like the original piece as I can get it. So I tend to use smooth guided, so it won't get rid of all of the glitter like that one did, but it will also stay true to my artwork. So I'm just going to turn the smoothness up a little bit. And if we turn the preview off, you can see that it's just softened. It's just softened it a little bit, but it still keeps the essence of it. You can still see that it's you can still see that it's the original artwork. Okay, so I'm going to press OK to this. So next I like to go brightness and contrast. The more contrast you put, you can balance it out by adding more brightness as well. And you can also add, you can do a split view here so that you can see what the difference is of what it changed. And I think that brightens it up nicely. Then I tend to go hue saturation. Once again, the saturation and the lightness, you can use the two of them together to kind of balance it out. So if you increase your saturation, it can go a little haywire crazy. See how it kind of looks more fluoro down here. So you can increase or decrease your lightness to kind of counter some of that saturation if that's what you want. I don't know that I like the effect that it's giving. I think a little bit is kind of nice. So let's press OK with that. And then I find that I don't tend to have to do this step if I have scanned the image, because the color, the lighting levels and the colors are pretty well controlled when you use a scan to get images. But if I'm using a camera, then I'll often have to do this more, which is where you go into the color balance. So sometimes my camera might make it a bit more red, or the lighting is causing it to be more purple skewed or whatever. You can come in here and edit these. If you just do them a little bit, it can just take that edge off to bring the color closer to what the actual artwork is. Or you can go really funky and like really play around with these and get very different results. So I'm not going to use any of this right now because I think that the colors are pretty good. Then if you right click on this button up here, this is the select tool. So I'd like to select a rectangle right now. And I'm just going to loosely grab the foreground of my coaster. Let's push that back a little. And then I'm just going to go copy and paste. So now you can see over here, I have a floating layer on top of my existing layer. So if I go right click to new layer, then I will have them as two separate layers. To edit the background, I find that a really quick and easy way of doing it is to right click on here, edit layer attributes, and change the opacity. So that's the transparency. And let's turn it down, let's say to 55. And it just means that the background takes away that little bit less from the artwork and the artwork can pop out. Because I'm using transparency, I'd want to save it in PNG because JPEG, in my experience, doesn't do transparency very well. And now whatever background I put that image on top of, it's going to blend into that background a little bit, but still keep the shadows and show that it's a 3D image. You can get more pedantic, which I usually do around the corners to curve off that line there, but I'm not going to get into that today. There's also many other ways that you can select the foreground in GIMP. And once again, I'm not going to do that today. Now, I would like to edit out some of these bits of dust, and I think these are pieces of cork that got in the way. You can see, I think I found a piece of hair on there. So I'm just going to zoom in. So there are many ways to do this. The way that I have the most success with, that I default to, is I will I'll right click on this and select ellipse or circle. So this button here just says that it will replace whatever selection I currently have going. And then I will choose an area that has a similar color match to what would be underneath this. So, and keeping in mind that this darker section here is actually a shadow of the piece of cork that's on top. So I'm going to take a section, copy, paste. Now I've got a floating layer. And I'm just going to position that over the top and try and line that up as best I can. And if I push this little button here, then I can make it disappear and see how it's lining up. And if I click anchor, so see how there's a little anchor next to my cursor? If I click that, then it will paste the layer down. So here, I could just go straight into using a smudge tool. I probably want to decrease my size, and then I can just smudge that into place, which is not my preferred way to go. What I like to do, and it very much depends on the size of the particle that you're trying to replace, and how much time you have, and how many things that you're editing. So if you go to new layer, I can now make the layer underneath it disappear. And I can also see exactly where the item is that I'm trying to hide. So if I make that visible again and I select the eraser, I'm going to choose here. I want to choose, if you click on that, you can select whatever type of this you want. I'm going to select one with a feathered edge, which will get it to blend better. And I'm going to turn the opacity down. So I'm going to turn the visibility of what I'm erasing down. And I'm going to resize that to be a little bit more, a little closer to what I'm working on. Making sure that I have the right layer selected. I can then just go around and just rub out some of that edge that I didn't need. So if you see there, I don't actually need this bit. Oop, I went too far and you can see some of the particle underneath. Okay, so now if I select all, voila, the item has pretty much disappeared. At this point, I usually merge the layer down just so I don't end up with like heaps of layers on the side. I find it just makes it cleaner. So I'll just merge down. And then if I really want, I can either do that process again to like really blend in areas like this, or I can just do a little smudge to just really make it a little less obvious. But I don't know about you guys, but I can't even see that anymore. So now I'm just scanning around looking for other pieces. Like I could select something and cover that up nice and quick. Anchor that down and voila, it's disappeared. I'm looking for a piece of hair that I can do. Here we go. So this is a nice little piece of hair that's gotten in between. So you can just smudge it out. So just going in line with the image or the pattern that you've got there. So that's one way of doing it. I find that that can be tacky and you can often tell that there's something funny there. What I prefer to do is I will select this tool up here. Once again, if you right click, there's various options of this tool, but I'm going to stick with the original. Oop. So what I like to do is I will just follow this line under here. And I don't need it to be very thick. It just needs to cover up. And I try not to make this too square, too parallel. So like I might make it go a little like that, just so it's not as obvious for the naked eye to be able to recognize. And then just go copy, paste, and move this, and move this up and into place. Looking for where it kind of looks like it disappears into the image. And then anchor that down, and you can barely see it. And then you can use the smudge tool just a touch if you want to for any last minute things, but you barely have to use it at all. And yeah, it looks really good. And I'm just going to do one more here for this little curly bit. Copy paste. Move it up and over. See where it kind of looks like it disappears. And anchor that down. And do a little bit of blending if I feel I need to. And now the piece of hair is gone. Okay, so there are more imperfections that I'm not going to bore you with going through all of them. So that's how you do that kind of editing to get rid of any hair or anything that you don't want that's been put on there. So now we've brought up the colors to where we want it to be. We have edited out any imperfections that we don't like. We have created the backgrounds that we want. You can, for the background, you can also use the eraser with the soft edge And if you bring that up a little bit, you can erase this edge so that it looks a little nicer on the edge, and you don't get such a harsh white outline. But that's entirely up to you. The last piece that I wanted to talk to you guys about is image quality. So image quality is essential. Whether you're planning on using this image to put on a website or upload to Instagram, or if you're planning on using this as print on demand. They're very different. They're basically the opposite of what you want to do. But so you go into scale image, and so there's the resolution and there's the height and width of the image. So if you change this to inches, you can see that this image is 4.5 inches, and that's including the background border. If you are using this for print on demand, any item that gets printed, a printer can only go up to 300 dpi, which is dots per inch, which is the physical version of pixels per inch. So if we change this to 300, we can immediately see that this image can scale up to 12 inches without a problem. So if I'm going to apply this to something small that's within 12 inches, this quality is perfect for that. So you'll be able to put it on, say, a mug or something, no problem. However, if you wanted to use this image on, say, on a t-shirt or something that's much bigger, or you wanted to scale it so it could be printed on a wall, you're going to have to change your resolution. So the higher your resolution and size, the bigger the file is going to be. So it's going to take more space on your computer, but the higher resolution it's going to be. So the more flexibility you have with that image. So if I wanted to take this up to, say, 1000, up to 1000, and make sure that it can, I'm going to say 6 inches. If I click scale, that's going to increase the quality of this image by quite a lot. So here it's saying that the maximum image size preference is currently set to this value, and the image that I just created is now going to scale up to be that big. So I'm going to press OK. I have a lot of storage on my computer. You may need to save it to a hard drive or something, depending on your setup. But yeah, you definitely want the bigger images so that you can use it for print on demand. So I'm going to click scale, and it's going to take a minute just to resize and rescale. So now I can go ahead and export as. I don't want to save it over the original file because that has all 6 coasters on it. So I want to make sure that I'm saving it to a different one. So I'm going to call this blue just for the video. And I'm going to choose to save it as a PNG so that I can have the transparent background. So here it's asking me the compression level. I'm going to have this saved down at 0 because I don't want this item to be compressed at all. I want to maintain all of the quality that I can get. So export. Okay, so this is that's the print on demand image done. Now I go image scale. So for an image that's just going to be displayed on my computer or on Instagram, really, I just need to use the standard sizes. This isn't going to become a main piece on my website. It's just going to become an item for sale. So I'm just going to save it to this typical size of 1930. And because it's a square, I'm just going to keep it at that. And then I can reduce this all the way down to 3 because I don't need it to be more impressive than that. So that makes it a 6-inch image. So someone can view it on their computer screen at 6 inches and it's going to be perfect quality. So I'm just going to scale. Also to note, the way that I'm exporting these are just image files. If I wanted to save the GIMP file, then I need to, oh, it's not going to let me do it while I'm saving this. But you just go File, Save, and it will save this as a GIMP file. So I will maintain my, I'll be able to keep my layers and all of the other details that I put. Okay, yeah, so if I just press Save, then it will save as a GIMP file. So this one I now want to export as, and I want this to be for my website, so I'm just going to call it WB. And I'm going to, yeah, I think I'm going to save this as a JPEG. So here it's saying what quality do I want it to have. Because I'm saving it for display purposes, I can drop this image quality down. I could put it at 80. I typically like keeping it at 90 because I like good quality images. And then export. Another thing that I haven't done on this, which you could also do, is this is a place where you could also insert a watermark. I'm not going to go into that today, but considering AI is stealing people's art and various other things, a lot of people put watermarks on their artwork so that people cannot steal their images. One good thing about reducing the quality of the image is that they don't have the high quality image that they can steal off the internet and use. Okay, so now if we go and look in File Explorer, we can see that, so the original piece that had all 6 is nearly 100 kilobytes. The one for the website is down at just over 1,000. And the one that we did for print on demand is higher than the image that has all of those. So it's 140 kilobytes. For this one, you can use programs like smoosh.app. I'll put a link to that down below if you're interested, which can compress this even further and make it an even smaller image for your website to maximize efficiency so your website loads nice and quickly. And yeah, that's all I've got for today. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. If there's anything that I glazed over or anything you want more details in, please put comments down below and let me know, and I can create new videos. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.